How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking out another video right here at NextGenMD. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Gianluca and I'm a first year medical student right here in Ontario, Canada at McMaster University. So I got a really important message the other day on my Instagram account. Someone had reached out, someone that had seen one of my videos and wanted to know if their dream of getting into medical school was over because they had messed up one semester. And the way that this person had explained the question to me, or they had explained the situation to me, they were very clearly upset with their situation and a little bit distraught. So I thought that it was really important for me to make this video right now. I'm just going to come out and say it, that a low GPA does not define you as a person. Just because you made some mistakes or you got less than stellar on a few courses, especially early on in your academic career, that doesn't mean that you're a terrible person, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to be a very successful applicant in the future. Now, having said that, medical school admissions are getting harder and harder statistically as we go through. So I thought that I'd do this video right now to talk about some ways that people could get into medical school, or how you could take yourself from a subpar GPA to a very competitive applicant. I'm going to be talking about 4 strategies, depending on what your GPA looks like right now, because there's a range as to how you could get into medical school, even with a less than perfect GPA. So first, let's quickly define a bad GPA, quote-unquote bad GPA. All you need to do to get the real answer for this is, first of all, don't go and talk to your buddy that's gotten nothing but A+ since they got into their undergrad program. What you want to do is look at the universities or the medical school programs that you are interested in and see the statistical average GPA that previously accepted students have gotten into the school with. And then you just take your GPA and compare it to the previously accepted students. Now, if your GPA is close, let's say the average is like a 3.8 and your GPA is about a 3.75, 3.77, that's within the standard deviation of the applicants that have applied, usually. But as we start moving further away from the average, your GPA is going to start getting worse and worse relative to what they accept, and then there's going to be some options that we're going to have to explore in terms of trying to get into that school. Now, one last thing to know before we get into these strategies right here is that nothing that I'm about to say is going to be easy. Medical school admissions in general are going to be some of the hardest things that undergrads are going to have to come up against academically anyways. But if this is something that you know that you want to do and you're dead set on your goal, then damn it, let's get right to it. So option number 1, let's say your GPA is just slightly below the usually accepted average for your medical school of choice. One of the things that you could do is pursue a master's degree. Now, a master's degree could be done in a variety of different fields. You could do, if we're talking about medical school here, we could talk about something in the biology fields or the chemistry, maybe some public health. Something like that seems to be fairly popular in some of the people that I know that have done master's programs. And the benefits of these programs is that it's usually about a 2-year program. You could take courses while you're inside your master's program, and then you also, in a lot of cases, get some sort of research experience and possibly even a publication or two at the end of your master's. Don't think of a master's program as like a guaranteed acceptance into medical school though. While you're there, it will be your job to make sure that you are getting the straight A's in that master's course and that you are trying your best to do whatever research you've been tasked to do, and you're getting those letters of reference and kind of doing everything to the best of your ability. The whole point of you taking those 2 years is to really show off that you are a much better applicant than the original person that had messed up earlier on in their academic career. Another con of the master's degree kind of route to medical school though is that, especially here in Canada, what we're seeing more often is that schools are not looking very favorably at the marks that you've obtained in that master's course. And a lot of the times when we're talking about improving our GPA, a lot of schools actually will not look at the master's courses. They'll only look at undergraduate courses in terms of calculation of your total GPA. There's a few reasons why this is, but just make sure that if you do decide to do a master's course to get into medical school, you're looking at the schools that you're going to be applying to and making sure that they will accept your master's courses in order to raise your GPA calculation. Now, the second option that you could do, if your GPA is super close to the average accepted GPA that school that you're looking into traditionally accepts, but you've applied and you haven't been successful in the past, is to go ahead and rewrite the MCAT, and this time you're going to kill it. You're going to go in there, tackle it properly, and get one of the top scores on the MCAT. Now, this is going to be much easier said than actually done, but I promise you guys, for the schools that actually look at the MCAT and take the score into consideration of your overall application, a strong MCAT is going to do wonders for compensating for a lower GPA. Now, for those of you that are considering rewriting the MCAT, I did actually put together another video for how I was able to schedule my study time for the MCAT to make sure that I got one of the top scores on the test. I'm going to go ahead and link that here. It's up here somewhere. Go right there. So next, for option number 3, let's say your GPA is a little further back from the school's average than you actually would have liked. Let's say the average for the school that you were looking into was about a 3.9, and your GPA is actually now at about a 3.6, 3.5, around there. One thing that you could elect to do is actually delay your graduation. Let's say you've completed all your courses in undergrad so far and you are set to graduate in the 4th year. What you could do is actually hold off graduating that year, elect to take another year of courses, and use those undergraduate courses to raise your GPA. Now, this is going to be useful in a few different situations. There's going to be some schools that are going to just take that 5th year, and now you'll have a cumulative average of all 5 of those years. But there's also going to be some schools, like Queen's and Western, for example, that are going to look at only your 2 either last years or 2 best years, depending on the university. So, depending on the context of what schools you're applying to, taking a 5th year could actually be a great option for people that just want to improve their GPA because everything else has been good for them so far, like their extracurriculars and their MCAT score. I would say that for the majority of people, especially those that actually have a strong MCAT score already, and now they just need to bring up their GPA, I would strongly advise taking the additional year, this 5th year, instead of doing an entire master's degree. And the reason is because, like I already said, a lot of schools actually do not look at the master's courses. Now again, make sure you go and check that with the schools that you're applying to, but in my particular case, it was actually more beneficial for me to do a 5th year, bust my butt off in that 5th year, doing the hardest courses that I could, and making sure that I got straight A+ in all of those courses, versus if I would have just went and did a master's, because those courses wouldn't have raised my overall GPA at all. Alternatively, to a 5th year, what you could do instead, and this is actually very popular down in the States, not so much here in Canada, but you could actually sign up for what's called a post-bac program. Now, what a post-bac program is basically after you've already done an undergrad, you could sign up in this program, and there's going to be a lot of the prerequisite courses that you're going to see from medical school in this program. It's going to be very competitive, and if you're able to get good marks in that course, I've been told that a lot of medical schools actually look very favorably at students that have successfully completed a post-bac program. But again, with things like these, always make sure that the medical school that you want to apply to actually recognizes these post-bac programs, just like we talked about previously with the masters. It's always good to make sure that before you sign up to do something that's going to take a year or 2 years of your life, you know that it's actually going to pay off for you in the end. Now, finally, option number 4. Let's say that your GPA is actually far and away from the average GPA that the medical schools in your province or state actually would like to see. In this case, and again, this is going to depend on the individual medical schools, so make sure you look at them in advance. But something that you could do, if you are that dedicated, is that you could actually just elect to do an entire 2nd undergrad. Now that you've already done one, and you've matured, and you've learned from your mistakes, if you sign up for another undergrad, you'll just take the whole thing over, and you'll be able to apply what you learned to make sure that you ace everything as you make your way through it. Now, this isn't going to be the easiest option. There's going to be a lot of time involved with signing up for an entire 2nd undergrad. But if you are dead set on going to medical school and your 1st undergrad really wasn't the best for you, and you're willing to put in those additional 4 years, this could be a very successful strategy for you in terms of drastically improving your GPA. If you got a 2 GPA in your 1st undergrad and then like a 3.8 in the 2nd one, that's like a major difference that you'll only be able to take advantage of if you took an entire 2nd undergrad. So now let's just tie everything together with a personal example. When I was getting ready to apply to medical school at the end of my 4th year, I sat down and I calculated my GPA, and it was around a 3.63 at the end of my 4th year. Now, in looking at all of the different medical schools, and let's just use the one that I'm at right now, McMaster, for example, had a 3.87 average GPA and a 129 CARS average accepting score for the MCAT. So I had these 4 options available to me, and then I just had to decide which one was going to be best for my situation. In this case, a 3.63 wasn't super far off from a 3.87, but it was slightly behind. So the first thing that I did was put all of my attention into absolutely killing the MCAT test. I studied for 3 months straight, and when I finally sat it, I was able to score a 131, which is a 99th percentile on the CAR section, which was able to drastically improve my chances of getting an interview for McMaster during that application cycle, because they only looked at the CAR section of the MCAT, McMaster University. Now, in addition to that, I actually delayed my graduation until after 4th year. I stuck around for 5th year, and guys, at the time, that was a terrible feeling to see all of my friends go ahead and graduate, and I kind of had to sit back and wait for next year's graduation. But a lot of my friends didn't want to go to medical school at that point, and I knew that this was something that I had to do. And in the long run, because of all of the straight A's that I was able to accumulate in that year, I was able to actually drastically improve my GPA. I mean, although I was actually offered an interview invite or 2 interview invites while I was in 5th year, so technically I didn't actually need to stick around for that 5th year, but it's okay, because if I wasn't offered those interviews that year, I knew that for the next cycle I would have been even more competitive. And guys, that's it for my strategies as to how you could take a low GPA and still manage to get into medical school. I thought this video was super important for me to make today, because I understand that taking a few bad marks, especially in a field as competitive as getting into medical school, can be very stressful for a lot of students. And I just really want to do my part to make sure that you guys aren't beating yourself up about it too much. What's important is that you take that initial learning experience, getting a few bad marks in the beginning of your career, or maybe it's in the middle, whenever something has come up and you were able to get some bad marks, and learning from what went wrong. The very first step is acknowledging the problem that happened there, and sometimes these might even be beyond our control, but learning from it and doing better and doing everything that you can to basically improve your chances moving forward. It's better not to look at the past, but to focus on the future. And if this is something that you really want to do, guys, I promise you it'll work out. You just gotta keep busting your butt off and doing everything that you can in order to set yourself up for success. Now, don't get me wrong, I really hope that all of you watching this video have had straight A's throughout your entire pre-med experience, okay? Hopefully you didn't end up in a situation like I did, but if by chance you're now looking at your grades and you still want to get into medical school, I hope this video was able to help you out. And if it did, I'll see you all in the next one. So everyone just take it easy. See you later.